Sarah stood in the bustling crowd on 42nd Street, where neon lights flickered and the sound of rushing taxis blended with the laughter and chatter of pedestrians. Despite being a successful CEO of a startup tech company, she felt like just a grain of sand in an ocean of people. Today, the air in the city seemed heavier than usual, as if everyone was carrying a secret that could not be shared. "Sarah, have you heard the news yet?" Emily, her assistant, called out from behind, her voice filled with concern. Sarah turned around to see Emily running towards her, her face pale. "What's going on?" Sarah asked, a sense of apprehension rising within her. Emily paused, panting. "It's John. He just sent you a message. He wants to meet." Sarah's heart raced. John, her ex-husband, who had abandoned her in a cold message, now wanted to meet. Why? She couldn't believe that after everything that had happened, he was here again. "I don't want to meet him," Sarah said, her voice firm but filled with inner turmoil. "Why is he showing up again? It's been a year. But there's something wrong. He got fired, and it seems like he's in big trouble," Emily said, her eyes shining with worry. "They say he's trying to find a way back to you." Sarah felt an electric shock run through her. John had never been one to easily accept failure. He had always been proud, self-satisfied, and now, the fact that he wanted to return to her only complicated things further. "I don't want to be involved with him anymore," Sarah asserted, but inside, the memories of happy and painful moments with John surged back. The images of them together, romantic evenings, endless arguments, and dreams extinguished in a cold message. She had spent so much time rebuilding her life, and now, a ghost from the past was reappearing. "I won't let him ruin what I've built," Sarah told herself. "But Sarah, maybe he really needs you," Emily said, her tone urgent. "Maybe this is an opportunity for you to close this chapter definitively." Sarah looked into Emily's eyes, seeing the worry and hope in them. She knew that Emily only wanted what was best for her, but that didn't lessen the tension in her heart. "I can't do that," she said, her tone more resolute. "We have a new life. And I don't want to go back to old things." But as Sarah turned away to continue her work, an uneasy feeling swelled up. She couldn't stop thinking about John, about what he might say. Was he really in trouble, or did he just want to take advantage of her once again? She didn't know, but one thing was certain, she couldn't let herself get caught in that vicious cycle again. As the city's lights began to flicker in the twilight, Sarah felt a growing anxiety. She decided that she needed to meet John, not because of lingering feelings, but out of curiosity and a desire to understand what was happening. "If he really needs help, I'll help," she told herself, "but I won't let myself get hurt again." And so, Sarah decided to meet John tomorrow at the cafe where they used to date. She felt like she was stepping into an inevitable battle, a battle between the past and the present, between painful memories and new hopes. She didn't know what awaited her up ahead, but one thing was certain, she would not let herself be defeated again. As Sarah left the office, a cold wind blew through, making her shiver. She looked up at the sky, where gray clouds were gathering, as if signaling an impending storm. "This isn't going to be an ordinary meeting," she thought, her heart full of anticipation. "This is a battle for the life of my own." She walked on, determined not to let the ghosts of the past shake the path ahead. Although unsure of what awaited her, Sarah was ready to face it. Her life would not be shaped by the decisions of others, she would be the one to write her own story. Sarah woke up the next morning with a heavy heart. The sunlight streamed through the window curtains, but she didn't feel as excited as usual. Instead, thoughts about her meeting with John filled her mind. She wondered if this was the right decision or not. She had prepared what to say, but couldn't stop worrying about what John might reveal. She looked in the mirror, her hair a mess and dark circles under her eyes showing clear signs of a sleepless night. "I can't let him scare me," she told herself, trying to muster a confident smile. "I've been through too much to go back to the old ways." After getting ready, Sarah decided to arrive at the cafe a little earlier to have time to think and regain her composure. The small cafe was located at the corner of 13th Street, where they used to frequent. The atmosphere in the cafe today seemed more somber, and she felt like everyone was looking at her with curious eyes. As Sarah sat down at a table near the window, she couldn't help but reminisce about the sweet memories with John. The afternoons they would sit together, laughing and sharing dreams. But now, all of that was just in the past. She took out her phone, scrolling through messages from Emily and other friends, but found no comfort. A small bell rang, startling her. John walked into the cafe, wearing a black coat and jeans. He looked different from the image she remembered, with sunken eyes and pale skin. She couldn't believe that the man she once loved looked like this now. "Sarah," John called, his voice deep and somewhat awkward. She stood up, feeling a wave of nervousness surge through her. "Thank you for coming. Is there something you want to say?" Sarah asked, trying to keep her tone calm. She didn't want to show him her weakness. "I don't have much time." John sat down, looking around the cafe as if he was searching for something. "Do you know why I wanted to meet you?" he asked, his gaze filled with sadness. "No," Sarah replied, "but I guess you have a reason." "I'm in trouble," John admitted, his voice tense. "The company fired me, and I don't know what to do next. I need help." Sarah felt a mix of emotions. She had been John's support in difficult times before, but now she didn't want to be his crutch anymore. "Why should I help you?" she asked, trying to keep her distance. "Because you're the only one I can trust," John said, his tone becoming urgent. "You know I'm not a bad person. I made mistakes, but I want to make it right." Sarah looked into John's eyes, and she saw a part of the man she once loved. But that wasn't enough to erase the painful memories. "You hurt me, John. I can't forget that." "I know," he said, regret written on his face. "But you also know that life isn't always easy. I didn't know what I was doing. I need your help to find myself again." John's words shook Sarah. She couldn't deny feeling a bit of sympathy for him, but her anxiety and fear lingered. "I can't help you if you're not honest with me," she said, her tone firm. "Okay," John sighed. "There's a secret I've never told you. A real reason behind why I left you." Sarah felt her heart race. She didn't know if she wanted to hear it or not. "What secret?" she asked, her voice tightening. "I got involved in things you don't know about. Some shady dealings at the company I worked for. I didn't want you to get involved, but now, it's become a part of my life," John confessed, his eyes filled with fear. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "What are you talking about? What did you do?" She couldn't believe that the man she once loved could be entangled in such things. "I was pressured by my superiors," John said, his voice becoming frantic. "They asked me to do unethical things, and now I'm being threatened. If I don't comply, they'll make my life worse." Sarah felt trapped in a difficult situation. She couldn't believe John had gotten involved in illegal activities. "So what do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice filled with suspicion. "Help me find a way out of their grip," John said. "You're the only one who can help me. I know you can do it." Sarah felt like she was standing on the edge. She didn't want to get involved in John's problems, but a part of her felt responsible. "I don't know if I can help you," she sighed. "I've built my life without you. I can't let you destroy everything. Sarah, please think about this. I don't want to get back with you that way. I just need help to get out of this situation," John said, his voice filled with hope. She looked into John's eyes, seeing desperation and fear. She couldn't deny feeling a bit of sympathy, but that wasn't enough to convince her. "I need time to think." Sarah said, standing up. I can't make a decision right now. As Sarah left the cafe, she felt like she had just escaped a nightmare. Everything had become more complicated than ever. She didn't know whether she should help John or not. But one thing was certain, she couldn't let herself get wrapped up in his troubles. When Sarah returned to the office, she couldn't stop thinking about her meeting with John. Emily was sitting at her desk, seeing the look on Sarah's face, stood up and asked, "What's wrong?" "What did he say?" "He's in big trouble," Sarah sighed, sitting down. "John has gotten involved in shady activities at his old company." Emily frowned. "What? What did he do?" "He didn't clarify, but it seems that someone is threatening him," Sarah said, anxiety rising. "He wants me to help him get out of this situation." "Sarah, you can't do that," Emily exclaimed, her voice full of concern. "He hurt you. And now he wants to come back into your life just because he's in trouble?" "I know, but..." Sarah hesitated. "I feel a sense of responsibility. He's facing serious issues." "But you can't let yourself be dragged into his problems," Emily emphasized. "You've worked hard to rebuild your life. Don't let John destroy everything." Sarah looked into Emily's eyes, seeing the worry and care. She knew that Emily only wanted what was best for her, but she also felt a pang of pain thinking about John. "I don't know what to do," she sighed. "I feel like I'm caught between two difficult choices." "You need to think carefully," Emily said, her tone softer. "Remember that you are no longer dependent on him. You are a strong woman. And you have the right to decide your own life." Sarah nodded, but deep down, she still felt confused. She couldn't deny that she felt a bit of sympathy for John. But she also couldn't forget the hurt he had caused. "I'll think about this," she said, more determined. As night fell, Sarah lay in bed, unable to close her eyes. She thought about her life. About what John had said. Was he telling the truth? Or was it just a game to make her feel guilty? She recalled the beautiful days they had together, but could not forget the storms they had weathered. "I have overcome all of this," she reminded herself. "I can't let him destroy everything." She decided that she needed to learn more about John's situation. Perhaps she could help him without getting entangled in his troubles. She opened her computer, searching for information about the company John had worked for. She needed to know exactly what was happening, and whether there was truly someone threatening him or not. As she scrolled through articles, Sarah felt a chill. There were reports about lawsuits related to John's company, accusations of fraud and illegal activities. She couldn't believe that John was involved in such matters. "I can't believe it," she whispered, her heart full of confusion. She decided that she needed to meet John again, but not to help him. She needed to know the truth, and if necessary, she would protect herself from the troubles he might bring. The next morning, Sarah tried to contact John. She arranged to meet him at the same cafe where it all began. When John appeared, his expression was somewhat more tense than the last time. "Sarah," he said, his voice filled with worry. "Have you thought about what I said?" "You need to tell me everything," Sarah said, her voice firm. "I can't help you if you're not honest with me." John sighed, his gaze heavy. "All right, I'll talk. But you have to promise that you won't abandon me." "I won't promise that until I know the truth," Sarah replied. John began to recount the pressures he faced at the company. "They asked me to get involved in illegal activities, and when I refused, they threatened to make my life miserable," he said, his voice full of despair. Sarah felt a wave of anxiety rise. "So why don't you report them?" she asked. "I can't," John said, his voice trembling. "They have power and can hurt me. I just want to get away from them." Sarah looked into John's eyes, sensing the sincerity in his words. But she also couldn't forget the pain he had caused her. "If I help you, I need to know that I won't be involved in your troubles," she said, her tone resolute. I promise, John said, his gaze determined. I'll find a way out of this situation without dragging you in. Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this was her chance to help John. But it was also an opportunity to tackle her own issues. All right, she said, but I need to be prepared for anything. If any trouble arises, I won't hesitate to walk away. Sarah couldn't stop thinking about what had happened between her and John. After deciding to help him, she spent the whole week gathering information. Learning about the company John used to work for and the shady activities he had mentioned. With each passing day, the sense of excitement and anxiety grew in her heart, as if a storm was approaching. Finally, one evening, while Sarah was sitting in the office with a pile of documents in front of her, she received a call from John. Sarah, can you meet me? It's serious, his voice was tense. All right, but you have to explain everything clearly, Sarah replied, her heart full of worry. I can't let myself get caught up in your troubles. They arranged to meet at a secluded park that evening. The streetlights flickered, creating a gloomy and mysterious atmosphere. Sarah arrived early, standing under a large tree, her heart racing. She had no idea that this meeting would change everything. When John appeared, he looked more haggard than before. Thank you for coming, he said, his tone off-key. I have important information. What information? Sarah asked, her eyes fixed on his face. I discovered that the company is not only involved in illegal activities. They are also secretly watching me, John said. Fear evident in every word. They know I have talked to you, and they won't hesitate to hurt both of us. Sarah felt her heart tighten. Why didn't you tell me this sooner, she asked. Her tone somewhat accusatory. If you knew, why not take action? I didn't want you to get involved. I thought I could handle it myself, John replied, his voice filled with remorse. But now, I have no other choice. A cold wind blew through, causing Sarah to shiver. So what do we do now, she asked, feeling anxious. We need to gather evidence and report it to the police, John said. But I can't do this alone. You need to help me. Sarah felt a wave of fear rise up. But if they know what we're doing, we could be in danger, she said, her voice trembling. We don't have much time, John replied, his gaze becoming resolute. If we don't act right now, things will get worse. Sarah felt like she was standing at a major crossroads. She knew that helping John could lead to serious risks, but she couldn't abandon him in his time of need. All right, she said, taking a deep breath. But I need to know everything. You have to be honest with me. John nodded and then began to recount what he had witnessed. They've done terrible things. I've seen documents about illegal transactions. They are laundering money and collaborating with bad guys, he said, his voice becoming tense. If we don't stop them, more people could get hurt. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Then we need to find a way to gather evidence without being detected, she said, her heart full of determination. We can use my technology to track them. Both of them started making plans. Sarah used her technological skills to set up a tracking and recording system. They decided to secretly monitor an important company meeting the following night, where they believed important information would be revealed. As night fell, Sarah and John stealthily approached the company's office building. Everything happened in silence. But Sarah's heart was filled with anxiety. We could be discovered at any moment, she whispered, glancing around. Don't worry, John said, his voice full of confidence. We just need to record what they say and leave. They found a hiding spot near the conference room, where the company leaders were preparing for the meeting. Sarah powered on the recording device and began monitoring. Everything went smoothly until a familiar voice rang out. We need to stop John, that voice said. Sarah felt her heart race. It was the voice of one of the company leaders mentioned by John. If he keeps digging, we'll have to deal with it. That's right, another voice agreed. We can't let him ruin our plans. Do whatever it takes to stop him? Sarah felt like she was frozen. John, we have to leave right now, she said, her voice tense. No, we need more evidence, John said, his gaze resolute. We can't miss this opportunity. Sarah felt like she was at a crossroads. She knew if they didn't leave now, they could be in danger. But if they discover us, we won't have any chance to escape. She said, her voice trembling. We can't let fear control us, John said, his voice full of determination. We have to do this. As the meeting continued, Sarah and John heard terrifying information about the company's illegal activities. They took notes, but Sarah's anxiety grew. She felt like a storm was approaching, and she didn't know if she could face it. Suddenly, the meeting room door opened, and a man stepped in with a cold gaze. Is anyone here? He asked, his voice serious. Sarah and John looked at each other, panic-stricken. We have to go, Sarah whispered, but John held her hand tightly. Wait, we need more time. The man entered the room, his gaze sweeping across every corner. Sarah felt her heart race. We don't have much time, she said, her voice filled with worry. All right, we'll leave right now, John said, but at that moment, the meeting room door opened again, and a group of people walked in. They were the ones John had warned about, the ones he feared. We need to find John, one of them said, his voice threatening. Look around. Sarah felt like she was in a nightmare. We can't stay here any longer, she said, her voice trembling. We have to leave right now. But John remained determined. We need more evidence. If we don't do this, they won't stop. She looked into John's eyes, seeing the determination and fear. If we don't leave right now, we won't have a chance to escape. Sarah said, her tone persuasive. Okay, John said, finally agreeing. We'll go. They stealthily left their hiding spot, but as they stepped outside, a scream rang out. Catch them! A voice yelled. Sarah and John ran like crazy, their hearts pounding in their chests. They dashed through dark hallways, feeling as if hundreds of eyes were watching them. We have to get out of here, Sarah panted, panic swelling within her. To the back door. John shouted, leading the way. They rushed toward the emergency exit, but when they arrived, they found a group of people waiting. No way! Sarah exclaimed, despair flooding over her. They were trapped. We have to fight, John said, his eyes resolute. We can't let them catch us. Sarah felt a surge of fear. But we have no weapons, she said, her voice filled with worry. We just need to find a way to escape, John replied, determination in his heart. Follow me. When they were cornered, Sarah felt like everything was collapsing. She looked into John's eyes, seeing determination but also fear. We can't let them catch us, she said, her voice trembling. Do you remember the first time we met? John asked, his gaze full of emotion. You helped me get through tough times. Now, help me one more time. Sarah felt a surge of emotion. I can't let myself get hurt again, she said, her voice filled with pain. But you can't abandon me either, John said, his tone persuasive. We need to do this together. She felt like she was facing the hardest decision of her life. If she helped John, she might be in danger, but if not, they could both be caught. All right, she said, feeling determined. We will do this together. After a tense escape, Sarah and John finally found a safe place to stop. They sat on a deserted beach where the waves gently lapped at their ears, creating a sound like a soothing melody. The sunset painted the sky gold, reflecting shimmering light on the water's surface. Sarah's mind was still spinning with recent events, but at this moment, she felt more peaceful than ever. We escaped them, John sighed, his voice filled with emotion. But at what cost for this freedom? Sarah looked into John's eyes, seeing fatigue but also determination. We did the right thing, she said, her voice strong. But you have to understand that I can't go back to our old life. I need time to think. I know. John replied, his gaze full of sadness. I hurt you, and I can't expect everything to go back to how it was before. She nodded, her heart full of turmoil. I can't forget what happened. But I also don't want to live in the past forever. I want to move forward. John fell silent, looking out at the sea. Do you think we can forgive each other? He asked, his voice full of worry. Sarah felt her heart tighten. Forgiveness isn't easy. I've suffered a lot because of your decisions, she said, her voice betraying her hurt. But I also understand that life isn't just black and white. We all make mistakes. And I've learned my lesson from those mistakes, John said, his eyes full of hope. I don't want to repeat the bad things of the past. I want to be a better person. Sarah felt a wave of emotion rise up. She recalled beautiful memories, the happy days they had together. My feelings for you can't change overnight, she said. But I want to give myself the opportunity to see if we can rebuild everything. I'm willing to do anything to prove that I deserve that chance, John said, his voice sincere. I won't let you down again. They sat in silence for a moment, only hearing the sound of the waves. Sarah felt as if she were at a major crossroads in her life. She didn't know if she could forgive John or not, but she knew she needed to give herself the opportunity to do so. I think that forgiveness is not just about accepting what happened, she said. Finally, breaking the silence. It's also about learning from mistakes and moving on. I can't live forever in pain. John nodded, his eyes full of understanding. Then let us move forward together. Not to go back to the past, but to build a new future. She felt a sense of relief spread within her. Maybe we won't become a couple like before, but I want to experiment with a new relationship. One based on trust and mutual respect. I agree, John said, holding Sarah's hand tightly. We won't let the pains of the past shape our future. As the sunset gradually faded, Sarah felt the light of a new beginning. She stood up, looking out at the sea, where the waves continued to caress the sandy shore. Life is a journey, and we all must learn from our mistakes, she said, her voice full of determination. That's right, John replied, standing beside her. We will write our new story together. Sarah felt a new hope rising within her. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but at least now she had a companion. She no longer feared facing the past, instead, she felt ready to move on. Let's start with the small things, Sarah said, her eyes lighting up. Maybe simple dates, genuine conversations. Gradually, we will figure out how to rebuild this relationship. I really want that, John said, a smile spreading across his face. The most important thing is that we will not give up. I will always be here, by your side. Sarah felt a warm wave wash over her. She knew that forgiveness was not only for John, but also for herself. She had learned that to move forward, she needed to let go of the burdens of the past. As they left the beach, Sarah felt as if she was stepping into a new chapter in her life. She didn't know what lay ahead, but she believed she was ready for the challenge. She had learned that love is not just about happy moments, but also about acceptance, forgiveness, and growth. I feel like I've grown so much, Sarah said, her gaze distant. I've learned how to face pain and turn it into strength. And so have I, John said, holding her hand tightly. We will get through every hardship together. As they walked under the streetlights, Sarah felt as though a burden had been lifted. She had found the strength within herself to forgive and move forward. No matter what the future held, she knew she would never be alone.